Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Thursday, May 15th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Foggy this morning. Showers this afternoon, high 70. Tonight and overnight, the clouds hang around, low 62. And then Friday, sun and clouds in the morning, showers possible in the afternoon, high 72. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 60 and cloudy in Rye up in Westchester County, 61 and cloudy in Deal over in New Jersey, and it's 60 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Can New Jersey Transit make a deal with its engineers before midnight? A horrific crash on the Taconic. A Bronx woman survives a wild attempt on her life. Andrew Cuomo looks unstoppable. Oh no, are the Knicks going to blow their big lead? All right, let's get into it at 5:01. We'll start with the Knicks. Was it worth staying up to watch them last night? If you're up at this 5 o'clock hour, you probably ask you that question all the time. Is it worth staying up to watch this or that? Well, it was the Knicks last night, and, no, it wasn't worth staying up to watch them because they were blown out, essentially. 127-102 Game 5. They could have beat Boston, finished them off last night. They were up 3-1. Now it's 3-2. And the team returns back here to Madison Square Garden on Friday, which is fun. But now if you're a Knicks fan, you're biting your nails just a little bit more.
I knew the type of aggression that would be involved in this game. And so I think you got to understand that. And it's a battle on every possession.
And that's Mr. Smiley. The Knicks head coach Tom Thibodeau says he wasn't surprised that the Celtics played hard. Well, no duh. They're not going to give up. Jalen Brunson says the starters need to play better.
We're playing a really good team. And so obviously we don't want to be minus 22 coming into tonight. But we got to understand who we're facing. And we need to be better, flat out.
Okay, so the good part is we won't be exhausted when we watch Friday night's game, which is at 8 o'clock at the Garden. Of course, it'll now become the hardest ticket to get in town.
Yes, they're missing a big piece. But like I said before, I mean, they're a team, a well-oiled machine that has been in situations where they play without him. And they played well.
All right, so we get another shot at advancing to the next round at the Garden on Friday night. Of course, as long-suffering Knicks fans, we worry that they're going to blow this thing. Let's hope they don't. They're still up 3-2, which gives them 2 more chances to finish off the Knicks. All right, 5:02. Of course, the really big story we will be watching over the next 12-15 hours as talks resume between New Jersey Transit and its rail engineers union, trying to reach a last-second agreement to avert a walkout by the union that would begin at midnight tonight. Outside New Jersey Transit headquarters yesterday, members of the Brotherhood of Engineers rallied. Okay, I always like to hear what the cheers are. Could you make out what this cheer is? Yeah, I can't make that out either.
We take a lot of pride in what we do. But we also need to be able to put food on the table.
All right, wait, I got to try one more time. Yeah, I think it's millions have paid their dues, something like that. Anyway, a walkout at midnight on Friday would halt all New Jersey Transit commuter trains. A rail strike would impact about 350,000 commuters who work in New Jersey. A lot of them, of course, come here into the city. New Jersey Transit is the nation's third largest commuter line. They have to put buses up to fill the gap, but there's not nearly enough buses to fill 350,000 riders. Teachers. The union claims its members earn an average salary of $113,000 a year and says an agreement could be reached if the agency CEO, who's Chris Calori, agrees to an average yearly salary of $170,000.
This precise issue of what is the fair compensation level is what's currently under discussion. I can represent to you is the conversations have been constructive, and we're all trying to work towards the same objective.
All right, that's the head of New Jersey Transit, disputes the union's data, saying the engineers have an average salary of $135,000 a year right now. He says the highest earners make more than $200 grand. If the walkout does happen, it would be the first one in 40 years, and it would not really be good. It would be bad.
They want to make a fair wage. I want to make sure it's fiscally responsible.
We're moving people. You know, if we mess up, there's consequences. Sometimes dire consequences.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that. So should a strike last through the weekend, New Jersey Transit will have some additional contingency plans in place for Monday morning. The thought is Friday would not be as terrible. By the way, it's still going to be terrible, but not as many people come into the city on Friday. That's a work-at-home day for a lot of people. But charter buses will run from 4 satellite lots around the state. 2 of those park-and-ride lots will go directly into Manhattan. Buses from Secaucus Junction and the PNC Arts Center will go to the Port Authority. Make sure you are here. If this happens, make sure you're here. Joel Nolan will help you get through it starting at 5 a.m. tomorrow. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that they can get this thing done, a contract done before that midnight deadline. 5:06, just a horrific crash on the Taconic in Westchester last night, killing 4. It happened near Sawmill River Road in Newcastle. New York State Police say the driver of a Sprinter van was traveling southbound when, for some reason, they crossed the center median, entered the northbound lanes, and smacked into a Honda sedan. The van overturned. It burst into flames. 3 people in the van pronounced dead at the scene. Driver taken to a local hospital in critical condition. The driver of the Honda taken to a local hospital where he died a short time later. Commuters, people trying to drive home, they got caught up in this last night.
It's terrible. It's sad. You know, I mean, it's been raining all day. Roads are wet. I almost ran out of gas. I was on E for about an hour.
So why did that van cross the median? Police have been investigating this all night. The roads were closed for a while. I imagine we'll find out soon enough whether they have reopened. None of the victims' identities have been released. State police actually sent us a message saying that anyone who witnessed this crash should give them a call because all they have, of course, is the aftermath.
Waiting for my wife. She's been stuck in traffic. I go the back roads to avoid the Taconic a little bit. And yeah, just kind of get home safe is the ultimate goal.
Now, early this morning, they were still cleaning up this crash and doing an investigation. WABC News Time 5:08. The FAA, the airlines that operate out of Newark Airport, have been meeting now to discuss how to alleviate the ongoing disruptions stemming from aging technology, an air traffic controller shortage, and then the construction on that runway. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy looking to reduce the number of takeoffs and landings to 28 each per hour. Now, it was 70. Normally, it's 70. So you're talking about a major reduction at the airport.
I do think it's important that we slow the flights because we don't want to have more flights than can be controlled in the airspace.
The goal of that meeting was to figure out a temporary solution so that the airport can run more smoothly. People know that they're going to be able to take off if they show up for their flight. And then there's just these long-term fixes like new fiber optic lines, updated and computer systems. Of course, the recruitment of more air traffic controllers. In fact, Sean Duffy has been suggesting offering some incentives to some of these air traffic controllers who are thinking of retiring and giving them a 20% bonus up front if they stay in the gig a little while longer.
We're going to give them 20% of their bonus up front. Again, you got to pay people to stick around, and we're in an emergency situation.
Yeah, so the plan won't likely be known until the end of the month, and they'll give us more details on how they're going to fix all that's wrong that continues to be wrong at Newark Airport. 5:10, let's go overseas. President Trump's Peace and Prosperity Tour in the Middle East, making a stop in Qatar yesterday. The president announcing new deals between Qatar and Boeing.
It's It's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing. That's pretty good.
Boeing will be selling billions of dollars worth of planes to the country. Trump also said Department of Defense will be selling the country our top-tier drones. He made the announcement with the Emir of Qatar by his side.
Congratulations to Boeing. Get those planes out there. Get them out there.
Then yesterday, the president says he's thankful for Arab nations' efforts to try and end the Israeli-Gaza conflict. He spoke earlier in the day about a summit and a cooperation deal that could be on the table, and he was thanking Hamas and the people who, well, I shouldn't say he was thanking Hamas, but he was thanking the people who worked with Hamas to free American Edan Alexander on Monday.
I greatly appreciate the constructive role that the leaders in this room have played in trying to bring the terrible conflict to an end, including by helping secure the release of American hostage Edan Alexander.
And the president yesterday talking about how he hopes for a future of safety and dignity for the Palestinian people. But he says Hamas is blocking that progress and is, continuing their attacks against innocent people.
Ultimately, all hostages of all nationalities must be released as a stepping stone to peace, and I think it's going to be happening. A lot of things are happening. A lot of very positive things are happening on every front. I was told just before I left that they were going to be releasing Edan. We thought Edan was dead. 3 weeks ago, they said Edan was no longer living.
Now he's talking about Gaza and Israel. He was also, of course, continues to talk about Iran. And he says he'd like to make a deal with them.
But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy wars, and permanently and verifiably cease its pursuit of nuclear weapons. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
The president is in the United Arab Emirates today for the final stop on this Middle East tour. Meanwhile, a small plane spotted over Mar-a-Lago yesterday with a banner that says, "Welcome to Qatar-a-Lago," paid for by Democrats, taking a shot at the president for his plans to accept that luxury Boeing 747 from Qatar to used as Air Force One.
We are the United States of America. We don't need gifts from foreign countries. We can build our own very impressive Air Force One.
California Congressman Ted Lieu calling for a vote on that gift. That's because taxpayers, he said, would be on the hook for the cost of retrofitting the jet to meet security standards. That he claims. He says it'll cost $1 billion, which seems like an awful lot of money.
We don't need to fly a Qatari plane around as our Air Force One. That's un-American. People need to ask, why is a foreign country trying to give this massive gift to Donald Trump?
5:13, President Trump, Vladimir Putin are both going to skip the Ukraine peace talks proposed by the Russian leader taking place today in Turkey.
I will be waiting in Turkey on Thursday. That was the message from Volodymyr Zelensky to Vladimir Putin, essentially challenging the Russian leader to come to Istanbul for face-to-face peace talks in what would have been their first in-person encounter since 2019. The Ukrainian leader said it was no longer worth continuing to have technical discussions and that it was time for a presidential one-on-one, but the Russian leader has declined to come to Turkey, instead sending a delegation led by top presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky. Ross Cullen, Istanbul.
5:14, let's come back to the United States. A Georgetown University scholar released yesterday from an ICE detention center says he was treated while he was there like a subhuman.
They never said that what wrong I did. My only wrong maybe is that I married a Palestinian girl who's an American citizen, by the way.
Badar Khan Suri walked out of the Texas facility after a federal judge ordered his release earlier in the day. The Indian national had been held at the facility since March, says he was never told what charges he was facing. But the Department of Homeland Security accused him of actively spreading Hamas propaganda and promoting anti-Semitism on social media.
There was no charge. There was nothing. They made a subhuman out of me. They took me from one center to other, not letting my family know. I have no vengeance, nothing against anyone. I'm happy. Forgiveness for everyone, which Gandhi told us. No problems.
Yeah, so as we're talking about ICE detention and sending migrants back home, we have new numbers, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Friday Eve. Good morning, Justin Ellis.
Happy Friday Eve. Good morning to you, Noam Laden. We will start here on the hardwood in Boston. The Knicks, they fell way short in Game 5 of their Eastern Conference semifinal series against the Celtics. The final 127-102. Josh Hart led the Knicks with 24 points despite briefly leaving the game late in the first quarter to close a bloody gash over his eye after he took an inadvertent elbow. Jalen Brunson added 22 points before fouling out. Just over 7 minutes to play in the game, the Knicks held as much as a 9-point lead, connecting on 8 threes and getting 10 second-chance points. Mitchell Robinson also converted on all 4 of his free throw attempts in the first half, nullifying the series-long intentional foul strategy Boston has employed on him. The Knicks will try again to win the series come tomorrow night back here in New York. If the Celtics win, Game 7 would be in Boston on Monday. Got to win tomorrow night. That is as big of a must-win as they come. To the diamond out west in Seattle, Aaron Judge had a go-ahead home run in the 8th inning, and the Yankees beat the Mariners 3-2. The Yanks trailed for most of the contest thanks to a couple of strong plays from Seattle's Julio Rodriguez. The Mariners center fielder robbed Trent Grisham of a leadoff home run and then drove in a pair of runs in the 3rd inning. The Yankees evened the score at 2 apiece in the 7th when Paul Goldschmidt delivered a pinch hit game-tying home run. Reliever Ian Hamilton notched his first victory of the year, and closer Luke Weaver earned his 4th save of the season for the Yanks. Judge has reached base multiple times in 33 of the Yankees' 43 games this season, leading all MLB hitters. Up next for the Yankees, an off day today before welcoming in the crosstown rival Mets for the weekend. Speaking of those Mets, they got blanked 4-0 by the Pirates in their series finale, with Pittsburgh unable to complete the series sweep at home. Slugger Juan Soto getting his first night off this season. With the NL East leading Mets, they were blanked for just the 2nd time this year. They get set now to meet those aforementioned Yankees over the weekend after an off day today. Both New York teams heading into this Subway Series are in first place. Should be an exciting weekend in the Bronx. And to the NFL here lastly, Noam, the New York Giants and Jets 2025 schedules were released along with the rest of the NFL slate yesterday. If there were any thoughts that it could be easy for the Giants to get back to respectability this season, you got to think again now. Their schedule, the hardest in the league, says the opposite. It's difficult right from the start, beginning with 2 division games on the road in Washington and Dallas. When they finally get to their home opener, it's against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's fun.
Yeah, exactly. They'll enjoy a bye week in Week 14, and following that bye week, people are going to start to, obviously based on their record, but start to have eyeballs on a one Jackson Dart to start getting some playing time. I'm sure you'll see that at some point this season. As for the Jets, first-year coach Aaron Glenn can enjoy the comforts of MetLife Stadium for his first 2 games, only the 2nd time in the last 14 years. The Jets' first 2 games are at home. From there, they're in Florida, 4 consecutive games, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Miami Dolphins. The Jets haven't played a September game in Miami since 2012. They haven't done an early back-to-back in Florida since 2002, and they get a bye week in Week 9 this year. That's just your local rundown. NFL schedules out last night, and that is your sports. Noam Laden, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
WABC News Time 520. A Milwaukee County judge accused of helping a man evade immigration authorities in the county courthouse has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Tony Waterman reports that Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested last month after she allegedly confronted members of an ICE task force and told them they needed a warrant to arrest the man.
If convicted, Judge Dugan faces up to 6 years in prison and a fine of $350,000.
The indictment also accuses Dugan of directing the man and his legal counsel to exit the courthouse through a non-public door, telling the man he could make his next court appearance via Zoom.
Judge Dugan was indicted on 2 counts, knowingly hiding the migrant from federal immigration agents who were seeking his arrest and directing the individual and his lawyer to leave her courthouse through a side door.
521, there are over 1 million illegal immigrants living in the country despite having final orders of deportation. Acting ICE Director Tom Lyons says they're prioritizing the worst of the worst right now.
However, during our investigations, when we are out in the communities, should we encounter someone that has a final order, ICE is going to uphold their sworn duty.
Now, earlier in the week, the feds in Texas said they deported more than 500 people, arrested more than 400 suspected illegal immigrants as part of a week-long operation in the Houston area. The Secretary of Health and Human Services telling Congress yesterday he doesn't think anyone should take his medical advice. During a House hearing yesterday, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was asked if he'd vaccinate his own children for the measles.
Probably for measles. What I would say is my opinions about vaccines are irrelevant.
He then added, I don't think people should be taking medical advice from me. Kennedy has a history of questioning the effectiveness and the side effects of vaccines.
It'll seem like I'm being evasive. Yeah. But I don't think people should be taking medical advice from me.
And not too far away, things getting heated between the Chief of Homeland Security and House Democrats yesterday. A hearing was supposed to be about her budget, but Kristi Noem was in several back and forths with Democrats about immigration, specifically the status of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
It's got to be extremely discouraging to be one of your constituents. To see you fight for a terrorist like this and not fight for them is extremely alarming to me.
I'm fighting for due process.
That was Congressman Dan Goldman, who's, of course, from Brooklyn, and Noem. They were clashing over Abrego Garcia, who was deported by the Trump administration to El Salvador back in March. What they initially said was an administrative error, then later said he was a member of MS-13, the gang.
Abrego Garcia is in his home country.
What steps have you taken?
If your continued advocacy for him were to...
I'm not advocating for him. I'm advocating for a court order, Madam Secretary.
The Supreme Court has ordered the administration to facilitate his return, but the DOJ has been fighting parts of that ruling in a lower court. 523 down to Texas. Texas House has passed the so-called Women's Bill of Rights, which codifies sex-based terms into law when it comes to state records. Amy Ikwa is with a group Woman to Woman and a former inmate who was forced to share a cell with a biological male.
Pretending sex doesn't matter may earn applause in elite circles, but on the ground, in shelters, and locker rooms, the cost is paid by women and girls who can no longer afford to be ignored.
Now, if this bill is signed by the governor, transgender Texans would be forced to change their birth certificates and driver's licenses to reflect their gender at birth. Backers say the goal is to keep biological men out of shelters, locker rooms, and off-girl sports teams.
This is about protecting everyone, especially the most vulnerable. Women who are trying to heal and rehabilitate. Yet they're being re-traumatized, violated, and silenced under the guise of inclusivity.
While we're down in Texas, this is strange. Zoos across the Lone Star State have been hit with a rash of break-ins. In some cases, animals have been stolen. Tim Morrow, who heads the San Antonio Zoo, is backing a bill that would make it a felony to break into a zoo. You would think it'd be a felony already.
I spent the last 30 years of my life working at zoological facilities in Texas, and during that time I've lost count of the break-ins.
And he wants jail time for those who harass the animals. The issue coming to head at this Dallas Zoo. Someone stole 2 monkeys there, damaged the enclosure of a clouded leopard, which escaped. Of course, caused a couple scary moments there, but there's been other break-ins as well.
Humans breaking into zoological facilities creates a danger for themselves, the staff, and the animals in our care.
Yeah, well, of course.
In most cases, police just simply escort the person off property and ask that we issue a private no trespass warning.
Not clear if Texas lawmakers will go along with that idea. 525 from Texas down to Florida. The Broward, Florida Sheriff's Office says they've arrested a pair of maids who literally cleaned out their clients' houses, allegedly stealing jewelry, valuables, and cash. I sort of feel like this happens a lot, but this one is bigger than the other one.
The case began in early April. That's when an elderly couple in a Tamarack community reported the theft of thousands of dollars of valuables from their home. And from that investigation, detectives were able to start piecing this together.
Detectives believe there are more victims because they found a pattern of burglaries, maybe a dozen of them across Palm Beach County, other places as well, where these maids would come in clean and then also clean people out.
The couple, Munoz Munoz and Milano are being charged for a case that occurred in July of 2022. They're charged with burglary of an unoccupied structure and grand theft. Detectives are putting on display some of the items that they've recovered in this investigation in hopes of some victims in the community might see their stolen items and come forward to help detectives with their investigation.
Yeah, they think a lot of the victims probably don't even know that they're victims. 526. Drug overdose deaths are now declining across the country.
According to the CDC, there were 30,000 fewer drug overdose deaths in 2024, marking the largest one-year decline ever recorded. Experts say more research needs to be done to understand what drove the reduction, but they mention several possible factors, including increased availability of the overdose-reversing drug naloxone, expanded addiction treatment, and shifts in how people use drugs. However, annual overdose deaths are still higher than they were before the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Mark Mayfield.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, May 15th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. We're going to see fog this morning. In fact, it's thick as pea soup at this hour. Showers this afternoon, high 70. Tonight and overnight, those clouds hang around, low 62. And then Friday, sun and clouds in the morning. Could see some pop-up showers in the afternoon, high 72. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 60, cloudy and Rye up in Westchester County. 61 and cloudy and Deal over in New Jersey. And it's 60 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time, 5:39. The clock ticking for New Jersey Transit. 350,000 riders waiting to see if the Engineers Union and the transit agency can make a deal before midnight. The engineers promising to walk out if there's no deal in place. It's all about money. They think they're not making enough. New Jersey Transit says they're willing to give them a bump in pay, but not as much as they want.
New Jersey Transit, I'll give them credit, has been willing to stay at the table with us through this. Let's see what tomorrow brings.
That's one of the leaders of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen. They're going to be back at the bargaining table today. The union claims its members earn an average salary of $113,000 a year. New Jersey Transit says no. The average salary is about $135,000. What they want is $170,000 a year. New Jersey Transit says no. That's way too much.
Nobody cares what somebody else makes in a different system. The riders pay a fare, and the businesses of New Jersey pay a tax. They want to make sure that the compensation, if you will, is calibrated to what their expectations are.
If the walkout does happen, it would be the state's first transit strike in more than 40 years. And when you talk to riders, they say, I don't have a plan because I've been told there's not enough buses. Some people say, hey, I'm allowed to work from home, but I don't know how long that's going to last. And they're just hoping and praying this thing doesn't happen.
Thankfully, my employers do have a contingency plan to allow remote working in the meantime, but we don't know how long the strike will happen for, so my backup plan is mostly praying.
If the engineers walk, it's probably a good idea. If the engineers do walk off the job, the agency plans to increase bus service, but that bus service will only accommodate maybe 20% of the 350,000 who commute every single day, the majority of them coming here into the city. Make sure, if it does happen, that you're listening. Right here at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, we'll give you all the places you can stop. Joe Nolan will have the latest, of course, on traffic because there'll be more people on the road. All that starting at 5 a.m. tomorrow. We've been telling you this morning about this just horrific crash on the Taconic Parkway. Getting a few more details about this in the last 30, 40 minutes. It was a two-vehicle crash that killed 4 people. This was in Newcastle near mile marker 9. This was about 5 o'clock last night. For some reason, a van going northbound crossed into the southbound lanes and smacked into a Honda sedan. 3 people in the van, they were killed. The person in the Honda that was hit, he was killed. Of course, it led to a traffic nightmare on the Taconic hours into last night.
I did see smoke. I did not see the accident itself.
It looks like a vehicle threat
and it looks like it's burned.
Yeah, and as of this morning, the northbound lanes of the Taconic that were closed for many hours, the good news is they're back open. But police are actually asking for the public to help in this investigation, trying to figure out why and what happened maybe to this driver. Was it just slick roads? Did they have some sort of medical episode before they crossed traffic into oncoming traffic?
I will have to find a way to get home. I have my phone, I have GPS.
That was a driver from last night who I'm sure is home by now. 5:43. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo still leading the pack of Democrats, battling it out to be the next mayor of New York. A new Marist poll finds 37% of likely Democratic voters would rank Cuomo first in the ranked choice voting primary come June. Zohran Mamdani comes in second with 18% picking him when ranking the candidate. City Council President Adrian Adams comes in third. Now, Mayor Adams is not part of this primary poll because he's running as an independent now. Zohran Mamdani held a press conference in Co-op City yesterday, and he's a state assemblyman, by the way, for Queens, and he's saying that he likes what's happening in these polls because he keeps going up. His numbers keep going up.
What you see from New Yorkers is they cannot afford to live in this city, and that is something that too often politicians have treated as if we are just spectators to that crisis, when in fact we have the tools to deliver a city that New Yorkers can actually afford.
Now, he's not really in striking distance, 37% to 18%, but he says as my numbers keep slowly going up, I can maybe make a difference come June. That's when the primary takes place.
We have been told over the course of this campaign that our ceiling was 5%, 10%, 15, 20. We continue to show that there is no ceiling to this movement.
Yeah, so it's going to be an awfully interesting race right to the final finish. I mean, the polls show Cuomo way ahead, but, those are polls. People actually have to come out to vote, and that hasn't happened yet. A missing swimmer out on Long Island. We've been telling you about this story all week. He went swimming. This was about 8 p.m. on Monday night in the Nissequogue River in Kings Park and had not been seen since. Marine Bureau officers responded that a man was in distress. But we just found out overnight that he was found in the river near Old Dock Road. Of course, no longer alive. This was last night. Detectives say the cause of death appears to be non-criminal. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Knicks had a rough night, Justin.
Yeah, they did. There were stretches where they played really good basketball. And clearly looked like the better team, of course, without the Celtics having Jason Tatum. But alas, they lose big time last night to the Celtics, partially because Jalen Brunson fouled out with just over 7 minutes left, a little under 8 minutes left in the game. So that was a big hit for the Knicks. But they do lose Game 5 last night in Boston, 127 to 102. Josh Hart led the Knicks with 24 points despite briefly leaving the game late in the first quarter to close a bloody gash over his eye after he took an inadvertent elbow, and Jalen Brunson added 22 points before he did foul out. The Knicks held as much as a 9-point lead, connecting on 8 threes and getting 10 second chance points, but they will have to move on into Game 6, coming to you from MSG tomorrow night here in New York, and we'll give it another shot, trying to put away the Celtics and move on into the Eastern Conference Finals. To the MLB out west in Seattle, Aaron Judge hit a go-ahead home run in the 8th inning, and the Yankees beat the Mariners 3-2. They trailed for most of the contest thanks to a couple strong plays from Seattle's Julio Rodriguez. Mariners center fielder robbed Trent Grisham of a leadoff homer and then drove in a pair of runs in the 3rd inning. Paul Goldschmidt delivered a pinch hit game-tying home run. Reliever Ian Hamilton notched his first victory of the year, and closer Luke Weaver earned his 4th save of the season for the Yanks. Judge has reached base multiple times in 33 of the Yankees' 43 games this season, leading all MLB hitters. Up next for the Yankees, an off day today before welcoming in the crosstown rival Mets for the weekend. Speaking of those Mets, they got blanked 4-0 by the Pirates in their series finale, with Pittsburgh unable to complete the series sweep at home. Slugger Juan Soto got his first night off of the season. They get set now to meet those aforementioned Yanks over the weekend after an off day today. Both New York teams in first place as we head into this Subway Series this weekend. And to the NFL, the New York Giants and Jets 2025 schedules were released along with the rest of the NFL slate yesterday. If there were any thoughts that it would be easy for the Giants to get back to respectability this season, you got to think again. Their schedule is the hardest in the league. It's difficult right from the start, beginning with 2 division games on the road in Washington and Dallas, and they'll enjoy a bye week in Week 14. As for the Jets, first-year coach Aaron Glenn can enjoy the comforts of MetLife Stadium, and for his first 2 games, only the second time in the last 14 years the Jets' first 2 games are at home. From there, they're in Florida for following weeks, and they have a bye in Week 9 this year. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. A 32-year-old woman from the Bronx telling just a crazy story of what happened to her last Friday. So she's walking on West 183rd Street, and a man comes up to her and puts a gun to the back of her head. He fires the gun. Somehow the bullet just sort of swipes her. It doesn't go into the back of her head, and she's grazed by it. She's knocked to the ground. He hits her with the gun as well, with the butt of the gun, and she's going to be okay, but she's freaked out because she has no idea who this guy is. Does he have a beef with her? She says, I don't have a beef with anybody. The police have shown her a picture of the guy. She says, I don't recognize him.
I don't know who that is. Somebody came behind me and shot at me. I don't know what happened. That's all I know. I know I was bleeding.
Now, the amazing part was after this all took place, she quickly got onto her feet. Other people came around to help her. She was taken to the hospital.
I was walking, somebody shot, and next thing I know, I looked up, I see somebody running, and that was all I seen.
She tells Eyewitness News now she's afraid to walk the streets. I mean, who can blame her? Especially, she says, why would somebody come up to me, of all people, gun to the back of my head? She says, I've done no wrong. Police say they don't know who this guy is, but if anybody recognizes the video they're circulating, they're saying, hey, give us a ring. Down in a lower Manhattan courtroom, the R&B singer Cassie Ventura returned to the witness stand yesterday. Second day spent recounting the tumultuous details of her life with her ex-boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs. She testified that Combs kept her in a cycle of abuse and exploitation by threatening to release recordings of her with male sex workers in encounters that Combs orchestrated that were called freak-offs. After prosecutors completed their questioning, the judge in the case adjourned court for the day and said that the defense could begin its cross-examination of Cassie come today. The defense is expected to do cross-examination. They say it'll take all of Thursday, and that it'll continue likely into followed by Friday. Then they'll get redirect examination by the prosecution. Combs, the 55-year-old, is accused of using his fame and fortune to orchestrate an empire of exploitation with a lot of abuse of women. He could get anywhere from 15 years in prison to life for all the crimes he is accused of. 5:52. Let's go up to the Hudson Valley. Croton on the Hudson police arresting a man for allegedly causing an explosion over the weekend. Police say 38-year-old Shay Kirschenbaum had some sort of beef with the neighbors and threw an explosive device into the neighbor's property because of this dispute. The Westchester County Bomb Squad says the explosive was a 3-inch commercial display mortar. It did explode, and neighbors heard it, and they were like, what the heck was that?
We were shocked. We just all heard this big bang, and we're like, okay, what is that? Are we going to lose power?
Now, the good news is nobody was hurt. They did not lose power. Kirschbaum charged now with criminal mischief for damaging the property of another person with an explosive. I wonder what the beef's all about. Governor Murphy calling on New Jersey's electric utilities to come up with cost mitigation plans as rates are set to rise yet again come June 1.
The Garden State's Board of Public Utilities approved a double-digit increase in February for Atlantic City Electric, PSE&G, Jersey Central Power and Light, and Rockland Energy. Governor Murphy requiring the companies to offer rate deferments to lower usage months and other ways to stabilize bills. He's also urging utilities to expand the prevention of service disconnections in winter months and suspend reconnection fees past peak usage in the summer. Murphy says the utilities have reaped billions in profits over the last 10 years and have a duty to protect ratepayers. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Maybe you're like me, feeling just a little bit exhausted from staying up and watching the Knicks game last night. It did not go well if you fell asleep before it was over. They, of course, went into Boston 3-1. They lost last night, so now it's 3-2. But Knicks fans who showed up at the Garden last night, outside the Garden, to watch with fellow fans, they say it's still going to happen for New York.
Last time I was a little kid, so if they make it now, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? And if they top that and go to the finals, even crazier, you know what I'm saying?
I'm excited, really excited about it. I'm a big fan since I was a little kid, and I can't believe they're beating Boston the way they are.
Yeah, well, they didn't do it last night. But fans say some games, they all have been kind of nail-biting, except that one blowout at Madison Square Garden.
It's nerve-wracking because we can't continue playing from behind, especially against a team like Boston. But, you know, if we keep the games close and turn it on in the second half, our chances are pretty good.
I'll be honest, it was the first game I was out of it. The second time I was like, we're cool. We came back from this.
Yes, so I went online just this morning, and I saw what's the cheapest ticket for the game Friday where they could finish off the Celtics, and it's $670 per ticket. So, I mean, you know, if you're really if you're really a big Knicks fan, you want to blow a lot of money, you can go.
I actually watch these guys all the time, so it's more than just Brunson, but the whole team is really just good altogether.
The whole team putting in work, but, you know, I ain't gonna lie, Bridges been coming through at the end with the defensive and the offense, you know what I'm saying? So the whole team putting in work.
I mean, Kel's coming up big. Kel's playing good in the fourth. Cat's been a little inconsistent in my opinion, but he stepped it up the last game.
All right, so now we come back to Madison Square Garden Friday night, 8 o'clock. Hopefully the Knicks will finish off the Celtics there. As Memorial Day weekend approaches, May is typically the time when the Jersey Shore gets ready for the big influx of visitors. But this year, the lead up to summer comes with uncertainty for business. They're not having as many rentals as they normally do. At the Ocean View Resort Campground in Dennis Township, I mean, they're scrubbing and cleaning and hoping for the best.
We've been open since mid-April, but it's sort of a soft opening. But Memorial Day will be, I always like to call it the true litmus test for is everything ready for the season.
Yeah, so summer 2025 may be a little bit different than initially expected because there's been a drop in tourists from one area in particular that's big at the Jersey Shore, Canadians. Yeah, the Canadians are not booking places in the Jersey Shore like they normally do. And in fact, for the first time, the Canadian Automobile Association rejected Cape May County tourist ads, which they normally float in Canada. The head of the Cape May Director of Tourism said, oh, that's not good.
Looking at that email, I had to read it twice. Like, wait a minute. Yeah, and I thought, this is crazy.
So this may be a summer where some of those rentals and some of the restaurants will have to adapt because fewer people apparently coming in from Canada.
They're offering specials and all for, the midweek or the beginning of the week to help fill in the rooms.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a deal at the Jersey Shore this summer, apparently they're there to be had.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?